Greetings. Welcome to Dr. English's Book Lovers Book Club. I'm Dr. English and I teach English. Today I'm going to review the book 5 Feet Apart, and it's by Rachel Lippincott with Mickey Daughtry and Tobias Iaconis. It's also a major motion picture, and I looked it up, and it was produced by Jason Baldoni, who used to be on Jane the Virgin. So that kind of dates my television viewing, but I haven't watched the movie, but I will say this about the book. I think it said it's like, when I looked it up to order it, it was like, if you liked John Green, you'll like this. And I think that's a really good way to put this, because this book is, I feel like the authors really are trying to be like John Green, but I feel like there's a little bit missing in that it's just it's not quite that kind of quality, but it's still really good. I mean, I really like it, and obviously they made a movie about it. But I think the number one reason why it's really highly rated is because it really does zero in on and focus on those people who have cystic fibrosis. So I love that part of it. I mean, to me, this was my favorite part. I had a high school student back in the day who had cystic fibrosis, and I've moved away and I've kind of lost touch, and I'd really like to know how she was, or she is, because this book really does a really good job. It's called I forgot to tell you, it's called 5 Feet Apart. So I learned so much about the disease that I had no idea. And I keep thinking of this former student, and I cannot remember her name. I've tried to think of it, and I need to just maybe go back through. I have all of my yearbooks from my teaching high school, and I need to go back and find the name, because this is a review that I would dedicate to her. But I really like that is the emphasis, and I learned that the 5 feet apart comes from a rule. If you have two people with CF, they aren't supposed to be closer than 6 feet apart. But in this story, this is Stella and Will. She gets a cue stick, and it's a 5 feet. So she kind of like, she's always lived by the rules. Like, this Stella has done everything she's supposed to do as someone with CF. Doing her exercises, she misses out on her senior trip to Cabo because she's sick again, and she needs to be in the hospital to get treatments. But she's always done everything she's supposed to do. And Will, who is the person that goes back and forth between Stella and Will, he hasn't done any of that. His family is very wealthy. His parents were very wealthy, and they've done everything. He's traveled all over the world to seek other kinds of treatments to prolong his life, and he just has broken every rule. And so it's a really interesting combination to see how these two play off each other, because she's a rule follower and he is not. And so I love that. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying that I'm a huge fan of John Green. I'm not saying it's not, that quality, because it is. They're different storytellers. And so, and they really do a good job of really developing Stella and Will. And then there's another character named Poe, who Stella's known her whole life, who also has CF. And he's very creative. He's very artistic. And so you kind of fall in love with the characters, because the authors do such a good job of helping us see who they are. There's a couple of things that I was like, like some of the hospital protocol, I was like, they should have done a little more research on that, because like she had a procedure and then she's up in her wheelchair, and I'm like, there's nobody that's had a surgery that's going to be up in a wheelchair right out of surgery. They're going to still be on a gurney. So like little things like that kind of bug me, but that's sadly only because I've been in the hospital enough to know that no, that's not protocol. So I got, those are the little things that someone like me, it just grates on me that they didn't do a little bit better research on that. This is something they could have done really simply. So anyway, as I was saying, one of the things that Stella is because one of the reasons why she's been following the rules is that she is in hopes that she'll get new lungs. She'll still have CF, but if she got new lungs, it would prolong her life. And so you just know how much she's worked hard to get that. And then you have Will, he has a bacteria, it's B. sepia or something like that, and it's pretty much a death sentence. But she tries to get him to think, try to do, do your exercise and everything. Because I feel like she feels like, maybe they'll figure out a new treatment. I mean, I think that's kind of true for people with cancer too, that, just hang on because there might be a new treatment around the corner. And so, um, uh, so, I really like, and they're in the hospital because they have to be in the hospital because of their CF. And so it runs, it's the whole thing is, they're, Will is kind of defying all of the rules, and Stella's a little bit anxious about that, but, um, they really like each other a lot, and they don't at first. She can't stand him. She just hates him, and so I love that they have that tension. And I love a good story that has the tension between the female and male, or male, male, female, female, but between the two people that are potential mates of some sort. But I think they, Poe and Will and Stella all know, like that's not really, realistic with them having cystic fibrosis. So, but if you have ever known anybody with cystic fibrosis, I think you'll really like it. But you don't have to have known anybody. But I do think it's wonderful in that if you don't know anything about it, it's really a book that will teach you a great deal about it. And I'm all for that. I love books that, help us understand something about certain diseases and about what the people might be going through. I mean, like, I had no idea. I mean, I knew that my student had cystic fibrosis, but I didn't know like she could have an infection, or she could have, her breathing might be down to, 35%, and I wouldn't have known because she wouldn't have shared. And so now looking back in hindsight, I thought I wish I would have taken a little more time to know more about the disease. And I mean, I probably did a very cursory kind of, investigation. And so, so it's good that there's a book that really helps you to understand more than just this is the name of the disease and what it does to the body, because you can place a human being with it and their experiences. So here's the excerpt I'm going to read. That evening I lie, this is from Will's point of view. That evening I lie on my bed staring up at the ceiling as I do my nebulizer treatments without Stella. Anything? Jason texts me, which doesn't help since the answer is a resounding no. Still nothing from her, not even a note, but I can't stop thinking about her. And the longer she's silent, the worse it gets. I can't stop thinking about what it would be like to be close to her, to reach out and actually touch her, to make her feel better after I screwed up. I can feel something reaching from deep in my chest, in the tips of my fingers, and the pit of my stomach, reaching out to feel the smooth skin of her arm, the raised scars I'm sure are on her body. But I'll never be able to. The distance between us will never go away or change. 6 feet forever. My phone pings and I grab it, hopeful, but it's just a notification from Twitter. I throw my phone down on my bed, frustrated. What the hell, Stella? She can't stay mad forever. Can she? I need to make this right. I switch off the nebulizer and throw my legs over the bed, sliding into my shoes and peering into the hallway to make sure the coast is clear. I see Julie sliding into a room farther down the hall with an IV drip, and I quickly slip out of my room knowing I have time. Walking quietly down the hallway, I pass the empty nurse's station and freeze in front of her desk, hearing music softly playing on the other side. She's in there. Taking a deep breath, I knock, the sound of my knuckles reverberating off the worn wood. I hear the music shut off and then her footsteps as she comes closer and closer, stepping in front of the door, hesitating. Finally it opens, her hazel eyes making my heart pound heavily into my chest. It's so good to see her. You're here, I say softly. I'm here, she says coolly, leaning against the doorframe and acting like she didn't just ignore me for the whole day. I got your cartoon. You're forgiven. Back up. I quickly step all the way back to the far wall, putting the 6 frustrating feet between us. We stare at each other, and she blinks, looking away to check the hall for nurses before looking down at the tile floor. You missed our treatment. And so I'll just leave it at that. And once again, like I said, the reason why they have to be 6 feet apart is because CFers can't be near each other because of the risk of giving each other something that could, shorten their life dramatically. So they can be with other people, but they can't be with other people with cystic fibrosis, which that was news to me. I didn't know that. This is a book you could teach, as in a school from middle school to high school. And I think it would be good if you even a science teacher could use this, like somebody who's doing some kind of anatomy class or something like that could actually, assign this book. as a means to understand something about a disease. But I definitely think you could do it as a book club book or a novel panel or literature circles, and you could do that probably with middle schoolers. It's there's nothing too dramatically in it that would be alert parents at all. It's very G-rated in my personal opinion, and I definitely would have it on my shelf. I think a lot of kids would get, if they're readers, they'll like the story, I think. So I would recommend that. I would recommend this book from anywhere to sixth grade on up. I, I think it's a really well written young adult novel that really, you can see that they're teenagers, but they're also not your normal teenagers. And I think that's really fascinating for us to look at what some people have to deal with day to day. So thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.